I don't know if anybody agrees with me on this point, but I kind of feel like King's Dominion is like the black sheep amongst the Cedar Fair parks. I know some of you are probably thinking, Derek, what about Michigan's Adventure? That park has pretty much been neglected for a long time. But hear me out. King's Dominion has prime real estate. It's located right off of I-95. The park is in close proximity to Richmond, Virginia, and Washington, D.C., so it definitely has a huge audience base within about 2 hours or less from the park. King's Dominion has a lot of land to work with. It actually kind of looks like it just sits out in the middle of nowhere, which is actually very nice and refreshing for a theme park. When you're at the top of I-305, you don't see like cities, houses, or anything like that in the distance. No, you actually see just like fields and trees, forests, and whatever, things like that. But what I'm saying here, this park has a lot of land to work with, which is something that Cedar Point can't actually say because they've developed a ton of their land, but also that's a huge park. But anyways, other parks like Dorney Park, that place is pretty much cramped, or obviously Knott's Berry Farm, they really don't have any space to expand. So with that said, I've kind of felt like King's Dominion has been sort of floundering around over the past few years. When I-305 opened in 2010, I don't think it brought in the audience boost that the park was looking for. The ride was deemed too intense and they had to do some major modifications to the ride during the off year before reopening in 2011. We saw a couple roller coasters get removed from then till now, including Shockwave, a Togo stand-up coaster, and unfortunately, Volcano the Blast Coaster, an Intamin inverted launch roller coaster. The only roller coaster that opened during this period was Twisted Timbers. Now that roller coaster is a great roller coaster, it's a fantastic RMC. Twisted Timbers opened in 2018, which is about 3 years ago, and well, we think there's a 40 free spin roller coaster sitting out in the parking lot. Sure, that's what it looks like, and all the signs are pointing in that direction, but that's not really like a huge major addition coming to the park. Some, even including myself, consider those roller coasters to be more like a flat ride than actually another major roller coaster addition. Many actually consider that to be a replacement of the Crypt instead of Volcano the Blast Coaster. But anyways, here's this park just sort of floundering, it doesn't really feel like Cedar Fair has an actual direction for this theme park. With so much potential that King's Dominion has, it just kind of makes me wonder, why isn't this park being more successful? I feel like many of the park issues keep boiling back to the opening of I-305 in 2010. Okay, I know some of you might be getting a little upset that I keep relating to Intimidator 305 in a little bit of a negative context, but hear me out. I-305 is a great roller coaster, but it has a very niche audience. I would say that the average coaster rider probably considers this coaster to be too intense, or more like a one and done during their visit at King's Dominion. Those who really enjoy intense roller coasters love this coaster, and I know actually some of you consider this to be your favorite roller coaster of all time, and I can totally understand where you're coming from. Myself, personally, I don't consider I-305 to be one of my favorites, but I totally respect the roller coaster for what it is, and I definitely consider it to be a fantastic roller coaster. It's probably going to be the most intense coaster we will ever see get created that will actually last this long. I know we'll probably have other rides that will get built, but I don't think they'll probably last because they'll prove to be too intense, but anyways, that's a whole nother topic. With a budget of $25 million, I-305 cost King's Dominion a pretty penny, and I just don't think they've ever got that return on investment. With that said, I think that's why Cedar Fair has always been kind of like putting everything at this park on hold. I think a prime example of this is Twisted Timbers Hurler. When Hurler closed in 2015, it actually didn't start its process of becoming an RMC hybrid until 2017. I'm sure the park knew that they were planning on turning it into a hybrid roller coaster, but they just weren't in any hurry. I feel like Cedar Fair is just putting everything on hold, just kind of waiting it out to see how things play over the next few years. Alright, so let's fast forward to 2018 Twisted Timbers. This roller coaster opens up and I think it's actually a huge success. However, it had one negative thing that came against it, and was this cell phone debacle. I can't remember if it was actually somebody on the ride or somebody standing in line, but I know somebody got hit by a cell phone as it was in somebody's pocket during the ride, and it got launched and it became a projectile. Thus why Twisted Timbers and Steel Vengeance have their new metal detector policy, and they don't allow anything to go with you onto this roller coaster. Personally, I don't think that scenario was a huge negative factor to the park, and I think this roller coaster really thrives at King's Dominion. But in that same year, the park then lost Volcano the Blast Coaster, which is a huge hit against this park's coaster lineup. If we run down to the roller coasters that they have in operation, there's really only a couple, if maybe a handful, that I would actually even consider riding during any given visit. I have been on every roller coaster at the park, but it doesn't mean I actually want to ride every roller coaster in this park when I visit. I know many hate on Anaconda, and well yeah, it's just not that great of an aero looping roller coaster, it's just there. You have Avalanche, but it's been closed this year, I hope it's not going away, but who knows. Backlot Stunt Coaster is a great family roller coaster, and then of course we have Flight of Fear, which is probably like the 4th or 5th best roller coaster. So well anyways, if we look at the top 3 roller coasters, I would say is Twisted Timbers, Intimidator 305, and then Dominator. In my opinion, after those 3 roller coasters, your collection really drops. Everything else is mostly filler to bottom of the barrel. Grizzly is really not that great of a wooden coaster. Racer 75 is fun, but again, it's more in that B-list, C-list category. Now, if we go over and take a look at some other theme parks in the Cedar Fair chain, say Cedar Point, Carowinds, or even Kings Island, they've been getting a lot of love. Carowinds saw Intimidator in 2010, Fury 325 in 2015, and then Copperhead Strike in 2019. Cedar Point had Gatekeeper in 2013, Valraven in 2016, and then Steel Vengeance in 2018. Kings Island, if we actually go back one more year with 2009, we see that Kings Island had Diamondback in 2009, Banshee in 2014, Mystic Timbers in 2017, and then finally Orion in 2020. Kings Island really seems like the golden child of the Cedar Fair chain, and actually I feel like they're kind of getting a little bit more love than Cedar Point is. Now, why can't Cedar Fair start showing that same amount of love to Kings Dominion? Because actually if I start comparing both theme parks, Kings Island to Kings Dominion, if we take their roller coaster collection out of play, I think Kings Dominion does a lot of things better than Kings Island does. For starters, I think the park is actually a little bit prettier, but that is a debatable factor. I do really appreciate how much shade that Kings Dominion has. There's a lot of trees around there, so you can kind of walk underneath the trees, which is very nice. As for Kings Island, there's a lot of pathways that are just open out in the sun. As a parent, I actually appreciate Kings Dominion more for their kid attractions than versus Kings Island. In Kings Island, I feel like all their family kiddie attractions are located, I believe it's inside Planet Snoopy, as versus Kings Dominion, they do have their big Snoopy section of the park, but they actually have more family kiddie attractions scattered throughout the park. As for Kings Island, if you're all the way over in Orion, there really isn't anything else that you can get a ride on Orion and then go get a kiddie family ride because, well, other than the antique cars, there's really nothing else in that park for the kids to do. So you have to just keep hiking back over to Planet Snoopy. And also at Kings Dominion, I feel like their Planet Snoopy, and I'm actually not 100% sure if it's called Planet Snoopy, but anyways, it's more centralized, so it's easier to get to the rides there if you actually want to head back to that section of the park. At Kings Island, their Planet Snoopy is located in the far bottom right-hand corner of the park, which is kind of tucked away all by itself. Now, it does have Mystic Timbers and Diamondback really close, but if you want to go to some of the other major roller coasters like Beast, Orion, Banshee, Bat, you're going to have to go for a little bit of a walk. I really hope after this 4D free spin roller coaster shows up at Kings Dominion that we don't have another long 8-year stretch till their next roller coaster. They really need to get something at this park soon because this park really needs some help. Again, I know some of you are crying out, hey, Michigan's Adventure, Valley Fair, Worlds of Fun, but okay, listen here. Kings Dominion has a great location. It may be in competition with Busch Gardens, but I don't think that really matters. If anything, I feel like that should be challenging the park to do better. Instead of spending multiple days at Busch Gardens, I really think that Kings Dominion could steal some of their guests back if they really do some exciting new changes to this park. If we look at the history of this park, Kings Dominion always focused on outlandish roller coasters. I mean, just take a look at some of their past coasters, like HyperSonic XLC, which is an extreme launch roller coaster, and then also we had Volcano the Blast Coaster, another extreme launch coaster. We currently have Intimidator 305, which is pushing the boundaries. I feel like this park needs something that would truly stand out, that would get the audience attention, and if you would ask me, I think the perfect roller coaster for this park would be another X2 style coaster. A fourth dimension roller coaster like X2, which I know sounds similar to the 4D free spin, but again is a completely different experience. This is an intense roller coaster unlike anything else that those in the northeast part of the country would have never been on. Also, there's the new Access coaster, which would make a decent fit to the park. Again, this park really needs something to stand out, to grab the audience attention. to show that, hey, King's Dominion is still here and we're still innovating, because I want to see King's Dominion become the destination park once again. So if there's anything you can get out of this video, out of all my ramblings, is that I want more love for King's Dominion. This park deserves it and it needs the attention. Well, thank you for watching today's video. What do you think about King's Dominion? Is this park getting the right amount of care and attention, or should it be getting more? Let me know all about it in the comments below. Before I conclude this video, I also want to remind you that I am now on Discord. Go check it out. There's a link provided in the video description. Also, another way that you can help out the channel, I am now an Amazon associate. As you can see, I have my equipment listed in the video description. If you click on one of those links and go shopping on Amazon, a small fraction of your purchase will go help support this channel. Again, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please click that like button and subscribe. That way you continue to get great content brought to you by Extreme Thrills.